Rednecks. America, home of the free land of the necks. Sure, in the bigger cities, the level of neck isn't all that impressive. If you spot somebody in boots here, they're probably a little bit on the shady side. But way out in the sticks, boy, I'll tell you, you're neck deep in neckiness. Out here, you spot somebody in a suit and tie, and they're probably coming to get somebody. Somebody dressed up like this means somebody's going to jail. Eventually. Probably. Maybe. But we're not going to talk about small redneck towns in America. That would take a whole day. We're going to explore the biggest clusters of redneck in the country. And let's be honest, in the whole damn planet. Now, we usually run some data and then make assumptions based on the results. But for this particular video, we're going to do the opposite. We crawled the internet for everybody else's opinion and then did a little digging to re-rank the places that everybody agrees are necktastic. After all, you guys live there. You know more than we do. So, without further ado, let's present the most redneck places on Earth by Nick Johnson. There is no life I know to compare with our fine redneck nation. Living there, you'll be free if you truly wish to be. We begin this redneck roundup in the city of Arlington, Texas. Of course, Texas is on here. At one point, the whole state was a bunch of gun-toting, horse-riding, shoot-first and ask-questions-later rednecks. The demographics sure have changed a bit, but nobody can argue that this state is full of them. Now, here in Arlington proper, it's not as conservative as it once was, but for a city with a population that's 400,000 people, a nearly 60% conservative voting bloc is really high. This is where the Dallas Cowboys play, and if there's any more redneck fans than those, I just don't know who they are. Except the Saints. But more on Louisiana later. Look at all the places you can buy boots here. Do rednecks wear boots anymore? I think they wear tennies more and more these days. Or Crocs. This is home to the Redneck Trailer Supply and the Texas Redneck Ramble. That's a motor race. Yep, this place is redneck heaven. At least, this place. This is the Redneck Heaven and Bar, where you can get fried pickles and fried pork skins, catfish baskets, and girls dressed like this. No wonder it's called Redneck Heaven. She sure is purty. Choo-choo! We're taking this truck down to Chattanooga, Tennessee, where you might see a few other beat-up old trucks just like ours. Or at least trucks. One Chattanooga resident hit the lottery, and you think that would mean he might become a city slicker. It didn't. You know the saying, you can take the redneck out of the poorhouse, but you can't take the redneck out of the redneck. He said he'd never flown in a plane before, nor had he ever been past Kentucky in his whole life, and he plans to keep it that way. There's a band called the Redneck Redemption from Chattanooga. They're currently seeking a vocalist baritone, guitar, drums, violin. Okay, so are they a band or are they not already a band? I don't get it. 63% of people in Chattanooga vote conservative. That's really high. And if you look at the voting patterns here, it looks like there's more independent voters moving in. That's cool. Progressive rednecks. Anyways, Tennessee's sure full of rednecks, and Chattanooga's a big part of that. But then we have their slightly bigger brother to the west, Knoxville. That's Bull. Lots of people chimed in on the internets about how redneck this place is. Somebody went as far as to call Knoxville the redneck capital of the country. We moved our son to complete his high school to this redneck crap hole in 2004. He calls this place hillbilly, inbreds, and stupid. Rednecks are like, yeah, and? He even compares Knoxville to the movie Deliverance. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, it's a real doozy. It's basically about some city slickers who decide to take a canoe trip in the backwoods of Georgia. They meet some interesting people along the way, who many would classify as rednecks. Anyways, the resident of Knoxville replied to this gentleman's comment, saying, if you like your computer followed, your phone records hacked, and the snaggletooth at the bank giving your bank details and personal information to all the inbreds. Okay, I think the point here was made.
Lord, there ain't no lower class than Tennessee trash.
Now, if you look at downtown, it doesn't seem very necky, but head a couple miles outside of town and it sure does. Look at all the places to buy guns and ammo around these parts. Jesus Christ. Now, the real rabble-rousers who want to keep Knoxville the way it is are way out in the sticks. But slowly, like the rest of America, this place is changing. Like, in a bad way. The Knoxville City Council voted nearly unanimously to not allow gun shows on city property anymore. Now, why would they do that? Can you still fish here, too? I mean, hell. Of course, you can't have a redneck hub without mentioning a place in Mississippi. If you did a blood test of everybody here, they'd all be related. No, that's mean. But they'd all have some shade of neck in their genes.
Folks, for quality and styling is Trendline. For the best price in the whole country is J.L. Jones Discount Furniture on Whitfield Road in Pearl.
Have you ever heard of the Redneck Riviera? It's a stretch of beach from just about here in Biloxi and goes all the way down to about Panama City Beach in Florida. These cities are where the perfectly trashy and wild country folk spill down out from their trailer parks and down to the shore for some good old-fashioned fun. Now, don't get all bent out of shape, ye fellow rednecks. Of course, I know a big portion of Redneck Nation has a good job, a big new truck, and a bunch of fancy stuff. There's plenty of rednecks with paychecks. Finally, before we leave Biloxi, we must point out that 67% of all voters here are conservative. That's really high, son. Like Mississippi, you could probably throw a can of chew at a map at Alabama, and just about anywhere it hit would be home to a mob of rednecks. The internet was very strong with this one. Lots of people say the Birmingham metro area is just filled to the brim with gun-toting, bass fishing, get your truck stuck in the mud, good old-fashioned Americans. Look at all the places here where you can buy fishing gear and bait, or where you can throw in a line and catch some catfish. And they sure know how to convince an Alabama redneck to buy a truck.
Buy a truck and get a turkey.
At Joe Sartain Ford's third annual turkey truck sale, when you buy a new Ford pickup, America's best built truck, we'll give you a turkey for your holiday table.
I'm convinced that real value in dental care comes from personal caring treatment combined with prices you can live with.
I'm confused. Do people even have teeth in Alabama? Why do they need a dentist? No, that's not nice. There's a common misperception that rednecks have big dogs. Now, in my personal experience, however, the smaller the dog a man has, the more redneck he is. Sure, some of them have big old hunting dogs, but often when you get back into the real trailer parks in the Deep South, you see dudes walking around with the teeniest dogs you've ever seen.
I have a small dog. Does that make me a redneck?
Hey, Mappy. Well, that depends. You don't drive a truck, and your wife wears shoes and doesn't drink Budweiser, so I'm not sure.
I shop at Walmart, though.
You do? I thought you were a Target shopper, Karen.
She voted for Barack Obama. I did too.
Okay, well, you two definitely aren't rednecks then. I can tell you that. I don't think you two could hang out with the redneck crowd, to be quite honest. Not even with that, Mappy, and you need to put that away. I swear, the next time he pulls that thing out, I'm taking it away from him. I think he thinks it's a toy. But for now, off we go to the state of West Virginia. And to the always progressive city of Huntington. No, Huntington's set in its ways, that's for sure.
No bull, folks, at Eagle Beaver right now. You can own and drive a brand new car truck from Eagle Beaver. Ain't no bull now, only $488 and drive away in a new Eagle Beaver automobile.
In case you didn't know, West Virginia has a whole lot of Republicans in it. In fact, it's one of the most red states out there. Here in Huntington proper, 2 out of 3 people vote red. And those who don't probably don't show their face in church very much, I reckon. Now, the folks in West Virginia aren't going to protest being on this list. I'll bet my whole tackle box on it. I mean, they're proud to be called rednecks. Generations here have a long history of living off the land, making illegal booze, and watching NASCAR every weekend. Some might call them hillbillies in these parts. Not me, though. That's mean. I can guarantee you that the people in West Virginia who don't live in Huntington are probably all upset because they aren't mentioned in this video. Okay, so here, let's do them a solid. Other places in West Virginia who should be on this list include Charleston, Morgantown, Parkersburg, Wheeling, Weirton, Fairmont, Martinsburg, Beckley, Clarksburg, South Charleston, Vienna, St. Albans, Bluefield, Bridgeport. Now here in Oklahoma City, this place just screams neck. Home of rodeos, coon hunting, and where every truck has a fishing pole under the seat. It's hard to get around here without feeling like you're on your way to a Hank Williams Jr. concert. The kids here start early, especially the kids you see at Oklahoma City Walmarts. No, that's mean. Oklahoma City has a banjo museum, a cowboy and western heritage museum, and for fun, Lots of officially sanctioned places where you can pay to get your truck stuck in the mud. There's a Redneck Yacht Club here where people complain that all they play is country music here. And people complain about sticky floors and beer smells and smoking inside. What do you expect? It's in Oklahoma City and it's called the Redneck Yacht Club. Come on, people. Bridgeport, Moundsville, Oak Hill, Dunbar, Elkins, Hurricane, Nitro, Charlestown, Princeton, Buckhannon, Ranson, New Martinsville, Grafton. Hunting, fishing, loving every day. We're getting thick now. Of course, Louisiana's gonna be home to a redneck haven. Heck, there's people in rural Louisiana who just got a telephone line put in with a cord on it. There's 6 places in town where you can get your coon stuffed. As such, you can imagine the voting patterns here are red, very, very dark red, as in about 7 and 10 red. And they love their sports down here too.
Boys and girls, on our pro football team, we train on hillbilly bread. Granny's old-fashioned hillbilly bread mix is good tasting and nourishing too. It makes wonderful toast. You can be real stars like me if you eat that hillbilly bread.
Like in just about every other state we talked about so far, Louisiana folks are proud of their lifestyle. Rednecks here in Lafayette, Louisiana are hardworking, often in the energy sector, and would help anyone in need. True blue they are, true blue. Of all Florida cities that should be on this list, no other place in the state deserves to be on here more than Jacksonville does. This is the most conservative large city in America, where more than half of the 892,062 people who live here lean right. Lynyrd Skynyrd, maybe the most redneck band ever, is from Jacksonville. There's more Waffle Houses here than just about anywhere else, and Walmarts too. This is home to Mullet World, the world's smallest theme park barbershop, featuring the very chair where the world's first mullet haircut was created. Supposedly. Maybe. There's a ton of trailer parks here too, where cops spent what felt like years making episodes in. Now the city of Jacksonville is trying to lose its redneck reputation. As an attempt to rebrand itself, the city came up with a new slogan contest and asked residents to come up with new ideas. Slogans such as "It's Not That Bad," "Mayberry Only Bigger," and "Redneck Heaven" were tossed out in favor of "Where Florida Begins." One guy in town isn't happy with the city of Jacksonville trying to shed its moniker. He says, "We all have a little redneck in us." And that is so true. It's true for many Americans. As Jacksonville continues to change, as does the redneck culture in many of the other places we've talked about, there's going to be a lot of people who will fight that change. To them, the redneck way of life is the only way of life. Now, despite all the change and the urbanization of this country and the fact that kids these days are real wimps, there will probably never be a time when there won't be rednecks running around here. And if that day ever comes, I hope I'm not here to see it. The end. Hey guys, if you learned something new or you just like this video, make sure to like it. And if you really like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get all of our videos about what it's like to live in different places in America. Peace.